Alright guys, welcome back to another class preview. This time we're going to be going over the Arcane Mage in the Legion Alpha and kind of seeing what's all new with this spec and kind of see if it's going to be a fun one to play. First of all, we're going to go over the spell book, then we're going to hit up some of the talents, then finish off with the artifact weapon. So let's get into it. Starting off in the spell book, we do have Arcane Barrage. It's a cost 5,000 mana. It's an instant cast with a 4-second cooldown. Launches a bolt of arcane energy at the enemy target, causing 47,000 arcane damage. Damage is increased by 61% per arcane charge. Hits one additional nearby target per arcane charge for 50% damage, and this does consume all of our arcane charges. Just in case we're not aware, we do work off of 4 arcane charges. Basically, we'll be using our Arcane Blast, which we'll go over next, to generate those mostly. Now we do have Arcane Blast, which does cost 33,000 mana, and with a 2-second cast, blast the target with energy, dealing 49,000 arcane damage. Damage is increased by 61% of per arcane charge. Now, mana cost is also increased by 100% per charge as well. This does generate 1 arcane charge, so obviously if you're with four charges, this will be costing quite a bit of mana. It is kind of an interesting spec that it works off of mana as a DPS. Kind of gives you a different feel, but anyways, we'll move on to Arcane Explosion. This does cost quite a bit of mana, mostly because we have 4 charges right now, but it's an instant cast, causes an explosion of magic around the caster, dealing 20,000 arcane damage to all enemies within 14 yards. The damage is increased by 61% per arcane charge, and the mana cost is increased by 100% per arcane charge. Now this also generates 1 charge if any targets are hit. So you can't just be spamming this when no one's around getting charges. Obviously that might be a little broken, but anyways, it's a nice addition to the AoE spell, but it kind of sucks that Arcane Mages have to be around to do a good majority of their AoE. Arcane Familiar, its talent we'll go over later. Now we do have Arcane Missiles. This is a channeled spell, but it has no mana cost, which is going to play a huge role into keeping your mana up and also getting the right type of procs. Launches 5 waves of arcane missiles at the enemy over 1.9 seconds, causing a total of 70,000 arcane damage. The damage is increased by 61% per charge, and each damaging spell has a 15% chance to activate arcane missiles. The chance is doubled for Arcane Blast, with a limit of 3 charges, and this also does generate 1 charge. Now, normally we do have a 30% chance of Arcane Blast to trigger one of these arcane missiles, which you see right there. And now, something to note, that Arcane Blast does less damage than our arcane missiles. So our arcane missiles are overall going to be where most of our damage is going to be dealt, which kind of plays into a vital role and kind of helps the rotation and makes you use your mana properly, making sure that you're doing Arcane Blast. You want ideally around 2 stacks of arcane missiles to start doing your arcane missiles, but the first 2 charges would be nice if you used Arcane Blast, just because they don't cost that much mana. Now, since Arcane Missiles does more damage and also has no mana cost, this at the last two of our Arcane Blasts, our Arcane Charges, will do quite significantly more damage and also help you maintain your mana. We do have Arcane Orb, which is a talent we'll go over later. Now Arcane Power. Arcane Power is going to be our main DPS cooldown. It's an instant cast with a 1.5 minute cooldown. For 16 seconds, you deal 30% more spell damage, and your spells cost 30% less mana. Nice overall DPS cooldown. I do like the fact that it does cost less mana. Yet again, playing into the fact that this is a different sort of feel for a DPS class. So, giving you more reason to pop this more often, but 30% more damage is amazing. Counter Refreshment, nothing new there. We do have Counter Spell as well, with 24-second cooldown, just our basic interrupts. Now Displacement. It's an instant cast with a 30-second cooldown. Teleports you back to where you last blinked from and resets the cooldown of blink. This is only usable within 13 seconds of blinking. I think this is 10 seconds without the artifact power into this, but so basically you can blink, then go back and blink, then reset the cooldown, so obviously you can blink again. But it does have a 30-second cooldown, making Arcane Mages really slippery, especially in PvP. So it does have a spot where you last blinked, so you kind of know where you're going to go. But you can walk around too, like speed away, then teleport back. So you do have a pretty big window of time, which is 13 seconds to kind of reactivate it. We do have Evocation, channeled ability with a 1.5 minute cooldown. Returns 100% of your total mana over 5.6 seconds. Very nice, especially if you some of the talents do kind of require you to spend a lot more mana, and this kind of works in that benefit. Do have Frost Nova, freezes everyone around you with a 30-second cooldown. Do have Greater Invisibility with a 2-minute cooldown, makes you invisible and untargetable for 20 seconds, removing all threat. Any action taken cancels this effect. You take 60% reduced damage while invisible, and for 3 seconds after reappearing. Good for a massive AoE damage from a raid boss, but also kind of very useful in PvP. We still do have Ice Barrier with 25-second cooldown, shields you for a minute, absorbing 182,000 damage, and while the shield holds, spellcasting will not be interrupted by damage. Very nice. We still have Ice Block. I don't know why it says is 15 mana cost. I realize that's really nothing, absolutely nothing. It does have a 5-minute cooldown. Encases you in a block vice, protecting you from all attacks and all damage for 10 seconds. During that time, you cannot attack, move, or cast spells. This costs hypothermia, preventing you to cast Ice Block again within 30 seconds. So this definitely plays into one of our talents called Snap. Ice Flows is a talent we'll go over later. Polymorph does cost 22,000 mana with a 1.5 second cast. Transforms the enemy into a sheep, wandering around incapacitated for 50 seconds. While affected, the victim cannot take any actions, but will regenerate health very quickly. The damage will cancel this effect. It does have a limit of 1. and this only can work on beasts, humanoids, and critters. Portals, we all know those are. Shimmer is a talent, but normally this would be blink. So blink's the same old spell it used to be. Teleports you 20 yards forward or until you reach obstacle, and frees you of all stuns and bonds. But next we do have slow. Does cost 11,000 mana, instant cast. Reduces the target's movement speed by 50% for 15 seconds. Now you can keep casting this onto anyone you like, and it does not. You can have multiple up at a time. Kind of makes their slowing capabilities really, really good. Slow fall, same as it always is. Spell steal does cost quite a bit of mana. Costs 231,000 mana. Instant cast steals a beneficial magic effect from the target, and this effect lasts a maximum of 2 minutes. We do have teleport, basic old teleport. We do have time warp as well still. It does cost 44,000 mana with a 5-minute cooldown. Warps the flow of time, increasing haste by 30% for all target, all party and raid members within 100 yards. Lasts 40 seconds. Cannot benefit from this again for 10 minutes unless you die. Now onto the passives. We do have our first passive as being Mage Armor. Increases your mastery by 1,250. And also the duration of all harmful magic effects used against you are reduced by 25%. Nice little addition. And now our mastery is Savant. Increases the mana regeneration rate and your maximum mana by 23%. Arcane charges increase the damage of afflicted spells by additional 11.73%. So normally the damage would increase off of Arcane Blast, Arcane Missiles, Arcane Barrage, Arcane Explosion by 50%, but since we do have quite a bit or a decent amount of mastery, it does increase it up to 61%. Therefore making mastery a very good stat, playing into any damage you're doing, so I do find that to be the best stat priority so far. But moving on to the talent, we do have Arcane Familiar as a cast with a 1 minute cooldown. Summons a familiar at the that attacks your enemies and increases your maximum mana by 10%. It does last for 1 hour. Obviously, you can keep this up all the time. It's a little wispy thing. Now, I don't think the damage is worked into it yet, because there it goes. It does alright amount of damage. It's a little off on delay, but you mostly use it to increase your maximum mana, therefore allowing you to use more spells, and also it kind of works very well with one of our last level 100 talents, Quickening. Now we do have Presence of Mind, instant cast with a 1 minute cooldown, causes your next 2 Arcane Blasts to be instant cast. Now this could be very nice during burst phases, but other than that, I don't see it being that overall that good. I mean, it's only 2 Arcane Blasts. I mean, it saves you 4 seconds, but it does have a pretty long cooldown. Now we do have Torrent as a passive. Arcane Barrage deals 25% increased damage per target it hits. Now if we look over Arcane Barrage, it does hit 1 additional nearby target per arcane charge. So obviously we're going to be wanting to use this at 4 charges because it drops all the stacks. But with 4 charges, it can hit 4 enemies. So if this hits 4 enemies, it does 100% increased damage, which is awesome. It really makes it useful in AoE fights. It kind of helps you get more of a rotation down instead of having to go in and Arcane Explosion and just kind of spamming that, then working off that way. But moving on, we do have Shimmer. This does replace our Blink. It does cost 22,000 mana still, with a 15-second recharge. It does have 2 charges on it. Teleports you 20 yards forward, unless there is something in the way. Unafflicted by the global cooldown, and castable while casting. So, if I am casting, I can blink it forward and not be worried about having it interrupted. And also, it still works for displacement as well. So, does not interrupt your casting. Now we do have Cauterize as a passive. Your fatal damage instead brings you to 35% health, then burns you for 28% of your maximum health over 6 seconds, while burning movement speed. Movement slowing effects are suppressed, and your movement speed is increased by 150%. This cannot occur every 2 minutes. It's very nice, especially on high rate damage fights with low required mobility. It can be very useful. Now we also do have Cold Snap, another passive. Ice Block now has 2 charges and also heals you 3% of your maximum health every 1 second, therefore healing you for 30% since this does last 10 seconds. But you cannot use it in a row because of hyperthermia preventing your cast again for 30 seconds and about 20 seconds by the time you get out. Now moving on to more of the fun spells, we do have Mirror Image. It does cost 22,000 mana with a 2-minute cooldown. Creates 3 copies of you nearby, which cast spells and attack your enemies for 40 seconds. Very fun talent, just because who doesn't want more copies of themselves? Basically, do that. I don't do all the most damage, but could be very good for burst fights as well. Next, we do have Rune of Power. Places a Rune of Power on the ground for 10 seconds, which increases your spell damage by 50% while you stand within 8 yards. It does have a 45-second recharge time, and I believe it is 2 charges, so you can keep this up for a decent amount of time. But like I said, this would be pretty good for bursts as well. But moving on to Incanter's Flow, which is the one I prefer just because it's a nice passive and you always have a damage boost. Its magical energy flows through you while in combat, building up to 20% increased damage, then diminishing down to 4% increased damage, cycling every 10 seconds. So no matter what, you always have 4% increased damage, where some points in the fight you will have 20. So, moving on to Supernova is an instant cast with a 25-second cooldown. Pulses arcane energy around the target, enemy or ally, dealing 44,000 arcane damage to all enemies within 8 yards, knocking them upward, and the primary enemy will take 100% increased damage. Now this could be very nice because you can use it on your tank, but you would probably want to use this on your enemy target because it does do 100% more damage to that single target. So very nice for some CC and even interrupting. Looks like this. I mean, that was there before, so it wasn't really that new of a spell, but is kind of a nice kind of a flow into the CC capabilities of Arcane Mages. Next, we do have Charged Up. It's an instant cast with a 30-second cooldown. It just immediately grants you 4 arcane charges, giving you extra little bursts and extra arcane barrage every once in a while. So, boom, just like that. Next, we do have Words of Power. This is a passive, grants you 1% increased chance to trigger arcane missiles per 20% of your mana you have unspent. So, if you do have 100% mana, you do get 5% increased chance to trigger arcane missiles, making the base overall 20% and making your arcane blast a 40% chance to trigger arcane missiles. I do like this one just because you get more arcane missiles, therefore using less mana, and more damage just because arcane missiles do a lot more damage a lot faster than arcane blast. So next we do have Icy Flows. Instant cast with a 20-second recharge with 3 charges. Makes your next mage spell castable while moving, unaffected by the global cooldown, and castable while casting. So if I'm already casting a spell, I can pop this and keep casting it. I can pop multiple at a time and it does stack up. So next we do have Ring of Frost. 22,000 mana cost with a 1.8 second cast, 45-second cooldown. Summons a Ring of Frost for 10 seconds at the target location. Enemies entering the ring are incapacitated for 10 seconds. Limit of 10 targets. And I believe enemies are escaping do get incapacitated for 10 seconds as well. Not sure why it doesn't say this, but now we do have Ice Ward, passive. Frost Nova has 2 charges, therefore you're able to freeze, run away, instead of waiting for that other 30 seconds. Another wave of mobs come at you or something like that, freeze them again. Now we brought back Nether Tempest. It does cost 16,000 mana. Instant cast places a Nether Tempest on the target, which deals 18,000 arcane damage over 12 seconds to the target and 17,000 to all enemies within 10 yards. Now this is affected off of our mastery, so it does have that damage increased per arcane charge. Now, say we use this at 4 stacks, for 4 charges, and it stays there. Obviously it's doing 4,000 damage now, but when we clear our stacks, it is still doing the 4,000. It does not change with your arcane charges dropping. It is whatever you cast it with. So instead of the 1,000, it'll constantly stay there even when I'm building up stacks. Now we do have Unstable Magic, which is a passive. Arcane Blast has a 15% chance to explode on impact, dealing 50% additional damage to the target and all other enemies within 8 yards. This is a very nice addition to just some basic AoE. Gives you more damage to even single target, because it can hit the same target. But a very nice passive, kind of bland, but does work out very well. Next we do have Erosion, another passive. Your attacks erode the target's resistances increases all damage the target takes from your spells for by 1%, stacking up to 10 times. After 3 seconds of not taking damage from your spells, this effect decreases by 1% every 1 second. So, the more spells you cast on them, the higher charge. So, and this does work off of each attack from Arcane Missiles, therefore giving you 5 stacks. And if you don't attack it for 3 seconds, it will slowly diminish. Both these are very good. I do see Unstable Magic working very well. AoE fights and erosion being more single target, even though a lot of your stuff still does hit AoE. I just don't see it. You getting a full Arcane Barrage in 3 seconds without it diminishing. So, but I guess you can Arcane Explosion too, if it's safe enough. It does give you stacks on everything. Next we do have Overpowered. It's a passive. Your Arcane Missiles extends your arcane power by 2 seconds. Now, arcane power lasts for 16 seconds already, so it does have a not very much downtime, therefore extending your main damage boost, your main DPS cooldown on gives you a little bit longer. This could be very useful in burst fights, especially if we do have like maybe a 30-second window to DPS a boss or a target. Therefore, making this pretty powerful, but I guess it is very situational. Next, we do have Quickening as a passive. Arcane Blast, Arcane Missiles, and Arcane Explosion also grant 2% haste for 6 seconds, stacking up to 100 times. This effect is cleared when you cast Arcane Barrage. Now, first glance of this, I thought this was the most overpowered thing in the world, but basically it works off a system that you never want to cast your Arcane Barrage, and you inevitably lose so much mana, even if you're using all of your Arcane Missiles. As soon as you can, you just lose all your mana too fast to even make this a huge difference. So, in the long run, I don't think this is a very good talent. I mean, it can be tweaked and it could be very situational, but you lose so much mana. Just getting it up to the effect that actually you do see a difference in your speeds of your Arcane Blasts. But I do prefer Arcane Orb. Arcane Orb does cost 11,000 mana with a 15-second cooldown. As it casts, launches a Arcane Orb forward from your position, traveling up to 40 yards, dealing 17,000 arcane damage to enemies it passes through. The damage this isn't supposed to be from the damage, it's the charges that you gain from it. You grant 1 arcane charge when it's cast, and every time it deals damage. So, say I only have 1 target in front of me, I cast this, I get 2 total charges with a 15-second cooldown, helping out your burst quite a bit. So I do prefer this to especially help out just my arcane charge generation. Moving on to our artifact weapon, we do have a Lunith. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. It's probably one of the easiest ones. On our main spell, we do have Mark of a Lunith. It is a 1.8 second cast with a 1 minute cooldown. Creates a runic prison at the target's location, slowing the target enemy's movement speed by 70%, and inflicting 139,000 arcane damage over 6 seconds, then detonating for arcane damage equal to your maximum of 15% mana. So, the more mana you have, the more damage this will do. Therefore, making Arcane familiar, decently powerful. So, basically, it looks like this. And it does hit other targets as well, so if you have a bunch of targets nearby, this does not split up the damage, it just does overall damage to everything around it. So it'll do 161,000 to each target. This could be very good in a fight where you have a lot of mobs coming out, therefore increasing your AoE capabilities. I do like the fact that they are making this more AoE friendly, but I don't like the fact that it doesn't synergize very well with some of the charges. They could have make it cost 4 charges or something like that, even to make it fit in a little bit better, but it's just a 1 minute cooldown and you get more damage. So, but it does help out our AoE quite a bit, so I am not mad at that spell. But most other passives just basically increase your damage overall, giving you slight buffs, but there are a few that stand out, like this Ascendance. It's a passive. Your evocation, when your evocation completes, it explodes for arcane damage equal to 33% of the mana restored. Obviously, you can only restore 100% of your mana. Therefore, it having the max of 33% of the damage of the mana. So, looks just like our Arcane Explosion after this. Does a decent amount of damage, and boom. Nice little cool thing. Since evocation doesn't heal you anymore, it's not really the best, like, oh crap button, especially if there's mobs around you, like if you're questing or something. But kind of a cool passive nonetheless. We do have Arcane Rebound. When your Arcane Barrage hits more than 2 targets, it explodes for 115,000 additional arcane damage to all enemies within 10 yards of the primary target. So if I'm hitting this middle one, and let me get some stacks actually, because it has to hit more than 2. So hits all 3 of these guys, it does some AoE damage. Target dummies aren't the best to work off of, but nice little addition to AoE capabilities. Next we do have Touch of the Magi. Arcane Blast has a chance to apply Touch of the Magi, accumulating 13% of the damage you deal to the target for 6 seconds, then exploding for that amount of arcane damage to the target and all nearby enemies. Therefore, majorly increasing your AoE once again. Hopefully I get a proc of Touch of Magi. And one day it does not want to proc. But anyways, I do like these passives that do increase Arcane Mage's AoE capability. Does make them viable for more than just single target fights. But actually, it just did proc. But I do like the the kind of nice rotation. In my opinion, it is kind of a slow rotation because Arcane Blast does cost is a 2-second cast, um, therefore making it slow in my mind. But there's also a bunch of stuff that you do have to keep up, like Arcane Orb if you go that route, and maintaining your Arcane missiles and just checking on your charges itself. But overall, nice new addition. I do like the fact that they're still working with mana and making this more of a interesting spec, not just that same old cookie cutter spec that they always had. Gives Arcane Mages a unique feel and kind of a very um, lore intensive feel as well, just because you're the master of Arcane. It does make sense to be working off of mana um, and stuff like that. But overall, a nice new addition to the Mage's arsenal. Um, if it was a little bit faster, I would like it a lot better. But still a pretty decent spec of that. With a bunch of ways you can play it still. Kind of almost working like Shadow Priest. Old 100 talents with Auspicious Spirits, and also the other one that I can't remember right now, with Quickening, does kind of change your playstyle quite a bit. Working off of kind of saving your mana and stuff. But I do like this spec. I think there's a couple tweaks that need to be made, especially this being so slow. But it is a good spec nonetheless, and I'm actually kind of decently excited to play it. Maybe even start my mage again. But thank you very much for watching. Hopefully you guys, if you do like this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. There's definitely a lot more specs to come, especially since WoW did release its Legion release date, so I'm going to be trying to push out all the new specs as fast as I can and giving you more content. But if we do have any questions, please put them in the comment box below. And thank you very much once again for watching, and I will see you guys next time.